Hey, what's up guys and gals? My name is Rick9G. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to be looking at the Twilight Zone. More specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the episodes that were a bit emotional slash sad. Now, I'm not talking about what we may know as, oh no, look what happened, this is a sad story. Something that really touches you emotionally, something that moves you. Why? Because the Twilight Zone is typically not that type of show. The Twilight Zone is more of a dramatic or surprising, shocking reveal type show. So these are episodes that are kind of out of the ordinary. Ones where, to be honest, some of them had me shedding a tear here and there because they are so well written, they are beautifully shot, and they are amazingly acted by really talented actors. So it comes together, it really touches you. So let's take a look at my list of my top 6 episodes from the Twilight Zone that were pretty much very emotional and sad. I do have to give a big spoiler warning here because I will spoil the ending to most of these, and Twilight Zone usually has surprise endings or endings that you don't really expect, even the audiences today. So I do want to give you that warning. I would highly recommend that you watch these. Even if you do hear the spoilers, you can still enjoy the episodes on their own. But most of these episodes are available on Netflix, so you can go ahead and watch them beforehand or just write them down yourself so you can see them later. Number 6, I'm going to start out with Season 3, Episode 21. It's called Kick the Can. Now in this one, we have an old man that's living in a rest home with a lot of other residents, but this man particularly believes that he has found the secret of youth in being a child. Not only that, but in playing as a child does. That innocence is what keeps you young. And he goes throughout most of this story talking to other residents who are there, and everyone thinks that he's crazy. He has no idea what he's talking about and that he's gone off his rocker. But at the end of the episode, we do see that because of his childlike quality, because of his belief in imagination, that he actually turns into a child and is able to regain his youth, versus other residents who just didn't believe, they didn't think it was possible, and they continue to be in a state of sadness or depression. And why this is a pretty sad, touching moment, not so much sad, but it's a very emotional moment, because we see moments where this old man even encountered his son, and we see the loneliness that he has, how sad he is because he's at the ending point of his life. However, he finds happiness in life. He finds the positive things, and it turns his entire life around, and that in itself is touching. That's why it made the list at number 6. Number 5 comes from Season 1, Episode 5 of The Twilight Zone. It's called The Walking Distance. Now in this one, a man travels back in time, unbeknownst to him, to his childhood. He begins to discover that the places that he's visiting are actually the places that he knew when he was a child, and slowly he finds out he has indeed traveled back in time. We see a lot of familiar faces, including Ron Howard, little Ron Howard, and very interestingly enough, he sees his own parents, he sees himself, and it's just a touching moment for him in his 30 or so odd years to see himself as a preteen and trying to tell himself, hey, enjoy your life, because one day you're going to get to be my age and wish you were a child. And of course, the child version of himself didn't really understand what was going on. And it's kind of a touching moment if you think about it. What would it be like for you to give advice to your 3-year-old self, and your 3-year-old self not knowing what is going on or who you are, and this connection that you would have with yourself? It's one of those aha moments, of course, very improbable, in fact, impossible, but something that we can use to our benefit today to enjoy every moment regardless of what age we are. In Season 3, Episode 19, we have the episode The Hunt. Now in this one, we have Mr. Simpson, who has his very best friend, Rip. That is his dog. He has, of course, his wife, but his dog is his best friend. He and his dog go on a coon hunt, that is raccoon hunting, and he slowly discovers that he has passed on. No one around him can see him, including his wife. He even sees his coffin being rolled out of his own house and wonders what is going on. A lot of this episode is him trying to figure it out. And it's kind of frustrating for us to know what's going on, and he just doesn't get it. He just doesn't know what's going on. And that is a pretty touching moment because we reflect upon ourselves just thinking how much of a heartache this is for everyone else. And it's, like I said, something that can be emotional. And at the end of the story, we do see that he has a choice between, of course, heaven and hell. And he decides that no matter what, he has to go with his dog, no matter what place that is. In fact, one man was trying to entice him into hell, telling him it was heaven. However, dogs were not allowed. So he felt that something was really wrong. He kept going and he found the real heaven and found out that yes, dogs can go to heaven. It's a really touching story between man and his best friend, the dog. Me having a dog myself, I very much relate to this story, and I think you'll understand why I like it so much. Now the episode Time Enough at Last, starring Burgess Meredith, an amazing actor from season 1, episode 8. Now I did do a whole review on this episode, so I won't tell you about every single thing in the story, but he is basically a bookworm. He loves to read. He finds himself in this world that does not allow him to read, but of course, a nuclear weapon goes off and he is completely alone with all the books in the world. However, at the end, the most ironic thing happens. His glasses break and he can no longer read. It's kind of a sad moment. This man's passion, he finally had the time to do what he wanted, and then life throws a curveball at him. It's a fairly sad moment, one that I think you will completely agree. The next moment comes from the episode One for the Angels. This is from season 1. It's the second episode, and it stars Ed Wynn. To me, this is overall a fantastic episode. We see an older man. He's a pitchman, but he's visited by death, telling him that it is time for him to go. Now, that's not why it's sad. It's the character. This character is so loving. He loves children. He helps them. He treats them so well, especially poor children. However, he does not want to die. So Death says, well, I need to take one in your place. And he decides to take a little girl. This completely breaks him. And he says, no, take me instead. Take me instead. And that feeling of desperation is definitely one that you feel watching this episode. Finally, he says, well, if I could do one pitch, at least the best pitch, I want to just be a salesman. I want to make the best pitch that I can. Well, Death falls for it, and he's able to make the best pitch ever. The girl is restored her life, and he says, well, now that I've done that, I am completely ready to go. And at the end, it's just a beautiful moment that touches me every single time I watch it. He asks, did I make it? Did I make it to the good place? And Death says, of course you did, Mr. Bookman. And we can verify this for the fact that he did want to give his life up for this innocent child. Like I said, it's one of this amazing moments. Mr. Death, played by Murray Hamilton, did such a fantastic job, in my opinion. A very early on episode. It's very poetic. It's just one of those things that you look at and, I don't know, you can't help to shed a tear. Finally, guys and gals, my number one moment comes from season 3, episode 16. It's called Nothing in the Dark. Now, let me tell you, you have two fantastic actors in this episode. You have Gladys Cooper playing the old woman who is completely scared of death. She's older and she knows death is coming, but she will not open the door to her house to let him in. However, we kind of have a secret, and that is that Robert Redford is playing Harold Belden, a police officer who disguises himself as a police officer, but is actually Mr. Death. But if you watch this episode, you'll see how beautiful it is throughout the entire episode. Her constant fear throughout the episode, and then when he finally reveals himself as Death, it is such a beautiful moment. He consoles her. He kind of gets her used to it little by little. He breaks her down in a very gentle, loving, and beautiful way. He reaches out to her and tells her to just touch his hand. She's so scared, but she does it. And then he says, see, nothing came from that. It wasn't scary. What you feared was pretty much a whisper. And she looks around and she sees herself, that she has passed on, but she's a total peace. She finds out that it was not as scary after all. It's one of those things where my words can't do the episode justice. You just have to watch it if you haven't. And I think you will be moved as well, guys and gals. Even if you know how the plot works out, I think anyone could appreciate an episode like this. Did I miss any of your favorite sad or emotional moments? Let me know down in the comments below. I would really appreciate it, guys and gals. Thank you so much. If you do like these videos, want to see more, just let me know by hitting that subscribe and thumbs up button and like this video. We'll see you next time, guys and gals, and don't forget, be helpful. Very big shout out and a big thanks to executive producers Andy, David, and Joe for being amazing supporters of the channel, as well as all of my Patreon supporters. If you want to become a Patreon member and have exclusive content only seen on Patreon, don't forget to visit the page. Links are in the description. I also have coffee mugs and other cool merchandise for you to look at. Links in the description as well.